Can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm not hearing any of you.
I'm in the same boat. I don't hear them, but I heard you fine.
Okay, yep, I hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Let's go back to Heinzman. We're doing the roll call attendance.
I figured that out. Present.
Langseth.
Langseth present.
Langseth present. Thank you for your patience. And Reese.
Reese present.
Reese present. And just want to make sure, Senator Herr.
Senator Herr present.
Herr President. Green present. Okay. Madam Chair, we have 6 present.
Thank you. So 6.
Backer's here.
Representative Backer.
Yep, I just came in.
Yep, you're not on this committee, but you're welcome to sit in.
Oh, okay. I got a notice that I was. Okay. No, I'm gone. I'll let you guys do the fun work there. Okay. Talk to you later.
Thank you. So 6 members being present, we have a quorum and we will move forward with our meeting. The first item on our agenda is to approve minutes from June 10th. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes from June 10th, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? That motion carries. The main order of our business today is a strategic planning discussion and possible action. I appreciate those members that are here because we did just end or conclude a long day of presentations from LCCMR. And so while I recognize your brains may be a little mushy, I'm appreciative that you're willing to come in and have a discussion about a very light topic, the strategies for a strategic plan. The first thing that we're going to do is in your packet, you've had the opportunity to look through the goal statements that we went through last week, and staff has very kindly provided an updated copy with some potential changes based on our discussion. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Campana for that discussion.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned, we've attempted to incorporate the member comments from last meeting where there appeared to be general agreement into this document, which is titled Working ENRTF Goal Statements. In addition, staff have reviewed the goal statements and made some additional suggestions for your consideration, primarily related to making sure the goals are consistent, clear, and complete. What I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is I'd like to go through each goal, explain the changes made, what staff is suggesting, if anything, and the reasoning behind that suggestion, and then you can discuss each goal if that works for you.
Thank you.
All right. So if you have the document in front of you, I can also share it if it's helpful for people.
Does anyone want that document up on the screen, or do you have that via the link that was in our meeting notice? Don't see anyone asking for it, so let's just go ahead and move forward with your discussion.
All right, so let's start then with goal number 1, which was the goal based on Minnesota's water resources are better managed both water quantity and quality. The change here was that, based on the discussion last week, there was, the subcommittee asked to remove the second half of that goal, at which read as a result of better understanding of the connections between surface water and groundwater. In addition, staff have looked at this and we have made a suggestion. In reviewing the goals, we noted that the goals seemed focused on management in a way that might be limiting to that goal. And to that end, staff have provided an alternative suggestion. And that suggestion was Minnesota's water resources support aquatic life, drinking water, recreation, and other uses. So at this point, Madam Chair, I'll stop so you can discuss both the change based on the discussion from last week, but also if you wanted to discuss the staff suggestion.
Thank you. What are members' wishes on this first goal statement and the staff suggestion as the updated version? Shona, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I like the suggestion you guys made. I'm wondering if we can incorporate it with the first part of the sentence, something along the lines of like Minnesota's water resources are better managed for both water quantity and quality to support aquatic life, drinking water, recreation, and other uses.
So you like the words better managed to be included?
I do, yeah, because I think if we just keep it as a suggestion, it doesn't give an emphasis that like we're working with a degraded resource, right? And we need to work on getting some better management practices in place.
Thank you. Other suggestions or comments on this?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Reese.
I agree with Commissioner Langseth. I think that we need to have it better managed in both for quantity and quality because take, for example, drinking water. Actually, I don't think the LCCMR can fund public drinking water or public water facilities, water treatment facilities. So I think we need to get in there that it's better managed, not traditional or conventional ways of management.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that the current staff suggestion incorporates that.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is folks like Minnesota's water resources are better managed for both water quantity and quality, plus adding to support aquatic life, drinking water, recreation, and other uses. Would that be fair enough?
Yes.
Okay.
So moved.
So we have a motion for that language. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on that. Do we need to do a roll call vote, Ms. Nash? We do. So is everyone clear on what the goal statement is, or would you like that reread? I'll reread it. Minnesota's water resources are better managed for both water quantity and quality and support aquatic life, drinking water, recreation, and other uses.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I believe I heard Commissioner Langseth say rather than and support to support, but
I agree. Yep. I think when I said it, I thought that didn't sound right. Thanks for that correction. Okay, so now we're clear and is staff clear on that? Good. Roll call, please.
Albright,
Yes.
Albright, yes. Green. Hanson,
Yes.
Hanson, yes. Her. Her. Heinzman,
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Reese,
yes.
Reese, yes. Just want to check Green and her again. Madam Chair, we have 5 yeses, 0 no's.
Thank you. That motion carries. On to number 2. The suggestion here, Mike, would you like to go over that?
Sure. Madam Chair, as you know, there were no changes based on the discussion from last week's subcommittee meeting. However, staff did have one suggestion. Our suggestion was that instead of it reading Minnesota's environment, natural resource, and communities are resilient in the face of climate change, land use changes, and extreme weather events. It would say Minnesota's environment, natural resource, and communities are resilient in the face of change, including climate change, land use changes, and extreme weather events. Staff's reasoning here would it be to make the goal a little broader to encompass resiliency in the face of other types of changes, such as a new invasive species or disease.
Thank you. So not limiting, but calling out some of the changes that might occur, but not limiting those to those that are listed. So what are comments from the commission or the subcommittee? Anyone have a comment on this? Representative Hansen.
I like it and I'd move it.
So we have a motion to approve. Is there any other discussion on this one?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Reese.
The only comment is that change is not always bad. So we'd identified changes that were bad in most eyes, and so I can just wondering if this current version actually is opening the door for change, for things that like putting in extreme example, putting in a walking path. Does that change? That's change that we support typically. So are we kind of contradicting ourselves or going against what some of the things that we usually do support in this sense? So I actually prefer the original sentence myself.
Other comments? Representative Heinzman.
Yeah, I have to agree with Commissioner Reese. I think that the original still, in my opinion, is the better language. Just wanted to mention that. Appreciate Commissioner Reese's comments.
Thank you. Any other comments from the committee? Representative Hansen.
Achieve a consensus, I would move the original number 2.
So we have a restated motion. Is there any discussion to the restated motion, which is the original number 2 that we were presented with?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Representative Hansen's mic was off.
Representative Hansen.
Madam Chair and Representative Heinzman, in order to achieve consensus, I would withdraw the staff suggestion and move item number 2 as it was originally stated.
Thank you, Representative Hansen. Is there any discussion to the renewed new motion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green is excused. Hansen.
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her. Heinzman.
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth.
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Reese.
Reese, yes.
Reese, yes. Madam Chair, we have 5 yes, no, 0 no.
That motion prevails. On to number 3. Do you have any comments on that, Mr. Campana?
Yes, Madam Chair. So once again, with this goal, based on the discussion from last week's subcommittee, there were no changes suggested. Staff has made just one small suggestion for this subcommittee to consider. In staff's looking at this language, we wondered if some people might consider wildlife to be limited just to terrestrial wildlife. So we suggested maybe adding aquatic and terrestrial in front of wildlife.
Thank you. Comments on this suggestion from members? So the suggested is Minnesota has healthy and diverse aquatic and terrestrial wildlife and plant populations that sustain and enhance the state's environment, economy, and quality of life. Representative Hansen.
I would move the staff suggestion. I think that's a good clarifying language.
Thank you. To the motion, any comments? Representative Langseth, Commissioner Langseth.
I'm like trying to put my hand down. I was going to move it as well. So,
okay. Any comments from committee members? Seeing no hands raised, we'll take the roll on this motion.
Albrecht.
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green is excused. Hanson,
Yes.
Her. Heinzman,
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Yes. Reese,
Yes.
Reese, yes. Madam Chair, 5 yes, 0 no.
That motion prevails and that goal is adopted for recommendation. Just as a reminder, the subcommittee will be recommending to the broader LCCMR committee all of these, or commission, all of these suggested strategic planning changes. So on to number 4. I don't think that changed very much. Would you comment on that one, Mr. Campana?
Yes, Madam Chair, based on the discussion last week of the subcommittee, there seemed to be agreement to add the word wetlands. So the goal now reads Minnesota's public and private lands, including forests, grasslands, wetlands, and agricultural lands, provide long-term benefits to fish, wildlife, and people. Staff didn't have any additional suggestions on this goal.
Thank you. This seemed to be a consensus. Is there a motion to approve this as written? Representative Hanson.
I'll move number 4.
Thank you. So Representative Hanson's moves goal 4. I see Mr. Reese's hand up.
Yeah, just a quick comment. There's a lot of commas in that sentence, by the way.
There's a lot of commas in there. Yes. But will you support it with all those commas in there?
I'm kind of particular about grammar, but yes, I will support it.
Any other comments about goal 4? Seeing none, we'll take the roll on that goal.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Albrecht, yes. Green is excused. Hanson,
Yes.
Hanson, yes. Her. Heinzman,
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Reese,
Yes.
Reese, yes. Madam Chair, 5 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. That motion prevails and number 4 is adopted for recommendation. Number 5, Mr. Campana.
Yes, Madam Chair. Number 5 reads, all Minnesotans, especially young people, have access to and take advantage of opportunities for culturally relevant and innovative connections to the lands and waters of Minnesota. Based on the subcommittee's discussion last week, we have not made any changes to this goal. However, staff did have one question that wanted to present it to the subcommittee. Staff wondered if the intent of the subcommittee is to limit this goal to only culturally relevant and innovative connections. Or if it would be better if the goal were a little more general, but culturally relevant and innovative connections could still be incorporated into a strategy. So that's sort of the impetus behind the question.
Thank you. So I'm sorry, Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would suggest that we change or amend the sentence by saying take advantage of opportunities, including culturally relevant and innovative connections. That way we keep it broad.
So you are suggesting we would add the word after.
Remove for and include input,
including comma, I would
yes.
say. Okay. Other comments? Do I see Commissioner Langseth, is your hand up?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair, thanks. I was just wondering the phrase innovative connections. I'm just curious how that came about, in particular, innovative.
I'm not sure I can answer that, or do you have any idea, Mike?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Langseth, this was one of the goal statements that was developed in 2019, so it did come out of that process. Otherwise, I don't have any specific information of how innovative made it into the goal.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
I don't know. Sorry.
Commissioner Langseth.
Sorry. I was going to say, I guess I'm not the biggest fan of innovative, like maybe natural connections or more organic connections. I don't know. I guess I'm just stumbling over that word. It's not a big deal, but I'll put that out there. Thank you.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think it's not useful or not needed, and it could be as part of a strategy. Mr. Reese, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on innovative. I think one of the reasons why it was included is that innovation is the application of knowledge. So we we fund research that develops knowledge, but it's important really to apply it. And that's where the context of innovative came into play, I believe.
Okay, other comments on this, number 5, Representative Hansen?
I actually looked at the innovative a different way in that we would not keep redoing things that we've already done. So innovative would mean new. So we're not funding similar things over and over and over.
Thank you. Yeah, it could mean, TikTok or other kinds of communication methods that connect people that wouldn't otherwise be reached. So it could be a number of different meanings in that particular sentence. So currently we have all Minnesota, it's been suggested that we have all Minnesotans, especially young people, have access to and take advantage of opportunities, including culturally relevant and innovative connections to the lands and waters of Minnesota. Any other comments, or is there a motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve, Madam Chair.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reese. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take the roll on that motion.
Albright,
Yes.
Albright, yes. Green is excused. Hansen,
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her. Heinzman,
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Reese,
Yes.
Reese, yes. Madam Chair, 5 yes, 0 no.
And that goal is recommended. Thank you. Number 6, Mr. Campana.
All right, yes, Madam Chair. So in number 6, based on the discussion from last week's subcommittee meeting, we have deleted the word non-polluting. We've also made a small grammatical change, which I apologize, does create more commas. So it now reads, Minnesota achieves reliance on renewable energy in all sectors, including transportation, building, industry, agriculture, and others. In reviewing the goals as a group, staff thought this goal stood out as a much more specific than the other goals. And to that end, staff have provided some alternatives that could still encompass achieving reliance on renewable energy, but also be inclusive enough for other strategies such as energy efficiency or carbon storage or sequestration strategies, or even strategies not related to renewable energy, but other ways we may impact natural resources in the environment, such as recycling and reuse. So that's sort of the impetus behind the staff suggested alternatives, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So any comments on goal 6 as written with taking out the word non-polluting, which we all agreed last time we should take out, and then taking out the parentheses, or on the suggested staff alternatives? Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I still like this number 6 as written. I think renewable energy has been called out before and in our meetings as being important. I think the built environment connotes buildings and themselves, not necessarily industries and other forms of renewable energy. So I don't think A is a reasonable alternative. I think B does not fully address renewable or calls out renewable energy. So I think I would not be in favor of that one as well either, but that's a better alternative than A. My view.
Thank you. So you like to keep in achieving reliance on renewable energy. Any
Yes.
other comments? Thank you. Is there anyone else with their hand up? I'm not able to tell necessarily. Representative Hansen.
Was that a motion, Madam Chair? From Commissioner Reese?
I was waiting for other comments, but if there are no other comments, I'll move number 6.
So number 6 as stated with the changes that we were recommending, taking out the word non-polluting and taking out the parentheses.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll take the roll.
Albright,
Yes.
Albright, yes. Green, excused. Hansen,
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her. Heinzman,
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth,
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Reese,
Reese, yes.
Reese, yes. Madam Chair, that's 5 yes, 0 no.
And that goal is recommended for adoption as well. On to the last goal, which is a brand new one that was added by this committee, and it is number 7. Mr. Campana, any comments on that?
Yes, Madam Chair, we did not hear any requests for changes from the subcommittee for goal 7, and staff didn't have any additional suggestions for this goal.
So no comments last time. Representative Hansen.
I move adoption.
I have a motion for approval. Is there, are there any comments from members? Seeing none, we'll take the roll on number 7, which is Minnesota responds quickly and proactively to emerging environmental and natural resources issues.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Yes. Green is excused. Hansen.
Yes.
Hansen, yes. Her. Heinzman.
Yes.
Heinzman, yes. Langseth.
Langseth, yes.
Langseth, yes. Reese.
Yes.
Reese, yes. Madam Chair, that's 5 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. And that goal is also adopted for recommendation. And thanks everyone for your work on this. This was a big job and you did a great work on it. I think these are all well stated and improved from where we began. The next thing I'd like to move to is the discussion on strategies. And with that, we'll have Mr. Campana present a PowerPoint and go through each goal and strategy with the slideshow. We'll kind of interrupt as we go. I'll just preface this discussion by saying the strategies are kind of a heavy lift, and we'll get as far as we get today. I don't have any necessary stopping point except the clock. So we'll just move through this as we can and leave what we don't get done for a future meeting. Mr. Campana.
Okay, Madam Chair. Actually, before I begin the presentation, if it's all right, I just wanted to make members aware that there are 3 additional documents to support your discussions on the strategies, and I just wanted to make sure you're aware of them. So first, there is a reference sheet. It's the one that sort of starts with the constitutional language. So this reference sheet, it just contains some basic background information and questions to consider as you discuss the strategies. And since I'll be sharing my screen with the presentation, if you look at this, it'll allow you to maybe look at some things that might be of relevance when you want to have that discussion. The second document we provided is all the additional strategies provided by the subject matter experts. Staff did our best to organize these strategies in basic groupings, but that's the bigger document, the 35-page document. And then finally, if you do get to goal 7, we have provided the current language regarding the emerging issues account, because we thought that might be additional background that might be helpful in developing strategies for goal 7. And with that, I will begin the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, hopefully members, you can all see this. So to begin with, as a reminder, last meeting you adopted the following recommended vision and mission statement. Minnesota's lands, waters, fish, and wildlife are plentiful, resilient, and appreciated for their intrinsic value as well as the benefits they provide us all. And you adopted the mission statement. The mission of the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund is to fund environmental and natural resource projects that best protect, conserve, preserve, and enhance Minnesota's air, water, land, fish, wildlife, and other natural resources. I just like to start with this language as it provides sort of the large scale lens for reviewing the goals and then now the strategies. So speaking of the goals and strategies, I also wanted to remind you of the difference between a goal and strategy. The goals you just discussed and approved state what you want to accomplish over the next 6 years. The strategies you're now going to discuss will go down sort of to the next level and state how you will accomplish those goals. At a practical level, it might be helpful to think about it as the strategies will directly translate over to the priorities contained in the RFP. So that might be also a way to think about them. Before you discuss the strategies, I wanted to remind you of the types of activities that are often funded using the ENRTF. I'm presenting this in the context of the questions we asked in the public survey. So those activity categories generally are restoring and enhancing land and water, developing plans and designs for protecting and conserving, preserving and enhancing natural resources, the environment and outdoor recreation, acquiring land for preservation, conservation, or outdoor recreation, increasing education and public awareness, conducting research to better understand issues, measure progress on achieving outcomes, and develop new tools, practices, or solutions, ensuring equitable funding distribution across all communities, constructing facilities and other infrastructure like trails, fishing piers, campgrounds, and solar panels. As you consider the strategies under each goal, you might want to think if the strategies cover all of the potential categories and activities that might be used to accomplish the goal. For example, a goal may have strategies for research and education, but maybe there could be additional strategies related to planning or infrastructure development. To that end, you'll find these activity categories in that reference sheet, just so if you ever want to reference back to them once we get to the actual strategies under each goal. Finally, before you begin your discussion, I thought I wanted to provide you with some questions that you might want to consider as you review the strategies. So as you get to each goal and we look at those strategies, you might want to think to yourself, what are the most important strategies to address that stated goal? Are there any strategies that you think are missing? Are there any strategies that you think should be removed? Do the strategies address all the relevant potential actions for the NRTF to fund? Are the strategies specific enough, or are they too specific? Are there strategies you think could be merged with another strategy? And then very basically, what do you like or dislike about the current working strategies? So now let's move on to the strategies. I'm going to present the strategies in the context of the subject matter expert survey results. So for each goal, we asked the subject matter experts the following questions. Which of the following strategies do you think is the most important or would be the most effective to achieve the following goal? Please select no more than 2 options. So that was the first question we asked each of them. And just to remind you, the strategies presented as options to the subject matter experts and are currently in front of you were primarily the strategies developed during the 2019 strategic planning process, although the subcommittee did add a couple strategies in its January discussions. The second question we asked the subject matter experts were, is there another strategy you think would be key to achieving this goal? Strategies could include things like research, education, measurement, demonstration, or developing something in particular related to the goal. You will see the results of the first question, the following slide. Response to the second question is found in the document in your meeting packet that I just mentioned that had those additional strategies. That's the big document. So unless there are any questions, Madam Chair, I can move on to the first goal.
Do members have any questions about the process of what we have before us or what we're going to be discussing?
Madam Chair, we cannot hear you online.
I'm sorry. I was coughing, so I turned off my mic. Do members have any questions for Mr. Campana about the process here or how we got the information that's before us? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, Madam Chair. So we're going to start with goal number 1, which very generally is the water goal. And actually, I'm going to try to read this as you've now adopted it. So the goal is Minnesota's water resources are better managed for both water quantity and quality to support aquatic life, drinking water, recreation, and other uses. So there were 6 strategies that came out of the 2019 process and one I believe added by you earlier in January. We presented this to the subject matter experts and we asked them, as I mentioned, to prioritize their top 2. And this is the ranking that came back. So their number 1, they thought the number 1 strategy would be to research impacts of nutrients, agricultural runoff, and urban stormwater on surface water and groundwater quality and quantity, as well as opportunities to mitigate those impacts. The second ranked strategy was research and demonstrate innovative market-based policies and partnerships that solve local water issues in both forest-based regions and agricultural-based regions. The third ranked strategy was evaluate the effectiveness of current management practices and past investments to improve water resources. The fourth strategy was educate local officials on how to improve and protect water resources, including model projects and policies that can be emulated at all scales. The fifth ranked strategy was increase understanding of current and future weather and climate patterns and how these align with anticipated water needs across Minnesota. And the sixth ranked strategy was research, implement demonstrations, and develop incentives and policies related to holding back water and increasing evapotranspiration opportunities to prevent water pollution. And with that, Madam Chair, I will leave this slide up and you can begin your discussion.
Thank you. I just want to preface our discussion a bit with, I always find it helpful to categorize and compartmentalize or maybe separate out a little bit some of the ideas. So that, and as well as the idea that strategies often have a quantifier in them, like increase, invest, that kind of a word. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's nice. I know that evaluate, innovate, some of those things. But when I suggest that we might think about a separate compartmentalize, maybe is the only word I can think of. But do we want to have a strategy for example, let me just throw out there, a strategy for investing in research and innovation with regard to water, a strategy for investing in natural resources through monitoring, evaluating, and demonstration, or do we want to invest in recreation, implement adaptive management, or planning and developing plans, or increase public awareness and education? Do we need to have some other kinds of ways to organize this information, or are we okay with just having a variety of strategies that seem to be somewhat arbitrary in my mind? So with that, I'll just open it up to comments on the process here to begin with before we go through the strategies that are before us 1 through 6. So any comments on our process and how we might better organize the strategies? I have Representative Heinzman.
Madam Chair, I thought we were going to have a different discussion. You added a qualifier at the end there, so I lowered my hand.
Oh, okay. Well, if people have any comments on how we might organize these strategies, I would take that. But also, if you would prefer to just continue down the line, I would accept that as well. So first, I have Commissioner Langseth and then Commissioner Reese. Commissioner Langseth.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not. I guess I'm a little bit confused on what we're doing to these strategies. The only thing that's really sticking out to me is there's a lot of research and education listed for the different strategies underwater, but under number 1, there's kind of two activities: research, and then at the tail end of the sentence, it's mitigating those impacts. I guess I would really like to see that mitigation kind of pulled out and highlighted, because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of other words around demonstration further on, but I don't see anything that's actually like addressing the water quality or water issues. It's right now it's very heavy on the research and education side.
Thank you. And maybe that's getting a bit to what I'm thinking of is, do we have strategies that are about research? Do we have strategies that are about mitigation or innovation or demonstration, and do we have strategies around education and awareness? So that's kind of what I was getting at. How do we really do a good job of making this a readable and usable document? Because this is really where the information for our RFP comes. And so for applicants to understand what is our purpose here and what strategies are they responding to, it might be helpful to them to have it a bit more clear. And as you say, not have 5 different things within each strategy. Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think research kind of stands apart, first of all, but then the innovation, demonstrating innovation, I think is important. That leads to mitigation, but I also think mitigation is go back to the underpinning that these dollars are not intended to supplant kind of the general fund dollars that go towards things like mitigation. I think we need to be mindful of that as well. So we can do the research, we can do the innovative demonstrations, either at pilot or at scale. And I think that's one area. To your question, Madam Chair, that's one area. And then the other thing is I do believe that this fund should be contributing to recreational opportunities for all Minnesotans across the spectrum. I think that from what I have seen of when we go out and we view these projects, I think people really respond to those recreational opportunities, and they're not just recreational opportunities; they're learning and education opportunities as well, and opportunities to connect with different cultures at the same time. So that's the way I would describe it. I would say research, innovative demonstrations, and then recreation of what with utilizing water resources of the state.
Thank you. Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to piggyback off of Commissioner Reese's comments. I do agree research and recreation are some things that are and have been a strong theme amongst those that are interested in what the LCCMR hears and what we ultimately recommend to the legislature. I'm going to make a comment on the first strategy referencing agricultural runoff and urban stormwater. While both of those things are factors and no question something that have been areas where we're trying to find, I'm going to use a word from an earlier discussion, innovation and solutions. I think it unfortunately vilifies both of those two categories as some kind of almost a I'm not going to say criminal, but it feels very negative when in fact Minnesota and its agricultural heritage and then also large urban areas are something that people come to, as urban areas provide a lot of opportunity for folks that are looking for various things in entertainment and industry and such, whereas agriculture being our heritage, and in so many cases you could use the argument we're feeding the world and the family farm is the backbone of our economy. I hope those goals can be addressed without the negativity that seems to be connected to them in that first comment. So back to Commissioner Reese's comment, I hope that research and then also all the opportunities for recreation are addressed without vilifying anybody, but looking for innovation.
Thank you. Other comments? Representative Hansen.
Looking across all the goals, and then when we look at the strategies underneath them, it really breaks down. And I think this is maybe where the chair was going. You have basic research, you have applied research, you've got evaluation, you've got implementation, and then you've got education or awareness. They all kind of fit into that in terms of each part. And implementation can be putting in the trail. Implementation can be putting in the boat dock. Just personally, I think where we miss is on evaluation of what we do or what we have done. Is it working? I mean, if we put in a trail, are people using it? If we put in a boat dock, is it still there 10 years later? If we're doing basic research and that's a phase one, do we see 3 years later applied research on trying to adapt that. Those are pieces, regardless of the topics. It just seems, when we're doing the strategic planning and this question of whether we are doing projects or whether we're doing research, there's a lot more specificity that comes to that. And you can break that down under each of the goals. I mean, you have whether it's resiliency, fish and wildlife, lands, access, basic research, applied research, evaluation, implementation, assessment, education, awareness, and resiliency of those. It seems to be there, and each of these, you have different percentages of demonstrate, fund, incentivize. Well, everything is funding that we're talking about. It's either an incentive or a disincentive. I would like to know if we incentivize or disincentivize, is it working? Is that an actual tool that can be used? And that's somewhat of applied research or evaluation. So that's where maybe I think the chair was going, because if we go through each of these in wordsmith, it's hard to second guess when people have filled out the surveys and provided that input. It's more of how do we categorize that and emphasize certain things. If it was me, I would underwater, or whether it's under fish and wildlife or land, we have things that are basic research, where we say we want basic research. We have some applied research. We want to evaluate things that we have funded in the past. Are they working? We want to implement things, like if we want a trail, we want it to be built, but it'd also be nice to know if it's being used and what the costs were on that. And how often do we have to come back and rebuild it? And then awareness, we say educate local officials. Well, are we providing awareness about things? Are we training things? Are we informing and assuming? All of those have different meanings in terms of what we could be funding. So that's kind of a long assessment, but I look at all these and we've got input, and it's hard to piece apart the input, but maybe categorizing it, that there are certain general things that maybe we can put these under. That we do want basic research across the board. We do want applied research, but we want some outcome evaluation. And we want to implement some things. We want some things that we have our capital projects procedures now that we will be using. So that's my input on it.
Thank you. Other comments? Is there a hand raised? Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't want to wordsmith all these either. I do think if we can get some discussion and have the staff note these, and then, as they did for the goals, come back and give us some suggestions to respond to. I think that would be the best approach. But I would agree with Representative Heinzman's concern about number one, calling out agriculture, urban stormwater. Those are culprits to some extent. I know that firsthand, but I think it's also missing some things there, because nutrients does not include microplastics, does not include forever chemicals. So those are not necessarily agricultural runoff or urban stormwater issues. Those are industry impacts. So I think that needs to be needs to be wordsmithed a bit better to better quantify what it is we're actually looking for.
Yeah, thanks for that comment. I agree, especially in this remote situation that we're in. It's not easy to go through strategic planning and nail down strategies. Perhaps what would be helpful is for us to agree on some categories, as Representative Hansen has called them, of different kinds of strategies under each goal, and have staff come back having sorted some of these into those categories. And I'll just remind folks that this committee did not write any of these strategies. This came from 2019, and I can see a bias within these water goals as well. That's been pointed out by Representative Heinzman and Commissioner Reese. So I agree that they're certainly not perfect. And I'm not sure that we're in the right situation to be able to fix those today. But I think what we can do is have a bit of a discussion about what do we agree are sort of the categories of strategies that we need within each goal. And to that point, I would point us to the document that was included in the packet that called Common ENRTF Activities. At the top, it's a single page, and it talks about what are the things that we generally fund based on the amendment. And they're listed as 2, 4, 6, 7 different common activities. Restore and enhance land and water. So that might be some category within this goal. Develop plans and designs for protecting, conserving, preserving, enhancing. So developing plans and designs might be another category. Acquiring land for preservation, conservation, and outdoor recreation. So there may be a spot within each goal for acquisition, but maybe not all goals would have an acquisition category for a strategy. Increase education and public awareness. And I think that that's a strategy that could be a category within any one of the goals, because certainly we want to make sure that the citizens of Minnesota are understanding the impact of conservation, preservation, enhancement. Conduct research to better understand issues. So that's what we've been talking about, the different kinds of research. I would say that might be a category underneath each goal, although, and it's probably thinking about education, recreation. Is there research around those? I think there probably is research that could be done around those. Ensure equitable funding distribution across all communities. That might be a strategy that is inherent within the strategic plan and wouldn't need to be listed necessarily as a strategy in every single goal, but it certainly should be called out in some place within the strategic plan. And then finally, construct facilities and other infrastructure like trails, fishing piers, campgrounds, solar panels. So construction of facilities and whatnot, I think is also perhaps a category. The only other thing that comes to mind is that we've talked about the evaluation and that might be an additional thing that's inherent within the strategic plan, and maybe not a particular goal or strategy, I should say. But the other one that I would add is enhancing coordination and collaboration among state agencies and local partners. So that might be incorporated into a strategy around developing plans. But I do think that there's so much activity going on among local partners, nonprofits, local political subdivisions, state agencies, and I think it behooves us to have a strategy that would enhance that coordination and collaboration. So having said all that, I will be quiet and let commission members respond to a discussion on, do we want categories within each strategy? So I think I have Commissioner Reese. Did you have a comment, Commissioner Reese?
Oh, sorry, it was on mute. Yes. Under potential funding activities, construct facilities and other infrastructure like trails. I I work in this area, but I think solar panels do not belong there. It should strike that. What I would like to see from a broader standpoint is some of the limitations we face from a research side is just having the equipment and facilities necessary to perform this work. So I think if you're looking at constructing facilities and infrastructure, and, campgrounds and research equipments and facilities to support desired results or something along those lines. The second comment I have on these bullet points is demonstrating innovative technologies or demonstrating innovative solutions, I think is important because we can do the research as Representative Hansen has mentioned. We can do the research, but then we need to scale it up at various times. And that's typically they call it Death Valley. So that would be a area that ENTRF could make a strategic investment if it's a big enough issue that we could fund large scale or actually various scales of technologies and solutions to basically get them out into the marketplace at that point in time if they're successful. So that's an area that I would like to see opened up as well.
Thank you. And I would recognize also that another area that we talked about was research. It's not necessarily listed per se in those 7 bullet points. So we might add problem investigation and applied research. We might add monitoring and assessment. And I just to give you an idea of where I'm going with this, I'm going to suggest that the staff put together a list of potential categories that we'll send out a poll to the committee members so that we can have a bit more time to think about it and maybe offer up new ones that we haven't thought of today. And so you can kind of have a chance to ruminate on this a bit. Strategic planning on the fly is difficult, as I've said, and I want to make sure that everyone feels as though they've had enough information to make decisions from, and I think it's easier if we try to offer up a poll that staff can send out to us. And that seemed to work quite well on some of our other decision making. So I'm going to suggest that today too. But I want to make sure that anyone else that has a comment about what category are we missing here or that you would like to offer. Is anyone else that has a comment? Are there any hands up? Representative Hansen.
And this is, I'll just throw this out there, but I think we need something of looking back on projects we've funded, and this is harder on research than on things. But we do have where they're cooperators and, almost looking at a very post hoc assessment. And an example of this, Representative Heinzman might remember this, but like with the livestock investment grants, I think the Department of Ag went back, 5 or 10 years later to see if they were still in business, see if they were still if they received the grant, were they still being innovative for what the grant was paying for. I think that's something, or maybe you go back to the researchers if they're still there and how did you follow up? Just something that a small portion is evaluation, because that's the final stop of the investment of the money, is to have some post hoc. And another example is in the Legislative Audit Commission, we occasionally go back and pick a topic that we had evaluated, at least 10 years before to see if the recommendations that had been made were adopted. And you don't do that with everyone, but you make some effort of almost like a pick something to go back on and see if we can, what happened with the investment that was made. So I'm not sure quite how to do it. I think it would be something as part of the strategic plan to have some type of long-term assessment, not a huge amount, but something that's probably part of the administrative effort to go back and see what has happened. So I'll just throw that out there.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese, did you have your hand up again?
I do, sorry. I'd also like to see some experiential learning. And just get people out doing these things, working with their hands. And we can teach people in classrooms, but at the end of the day, you learn by doing. And I think we could do a better job at supporting that type of activity.
Yeah, that's a great, I'm a big supporter of experiential learning too. And as part of the education and outreach, I think that's a good idea. You may recall that in the past, we have funded trout in the classroom with Trout Unlimited, and I was invited to the classrooms in the Bemidji schools, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders who have been rearing little trout fingerlings and had a release date. And I went and visited the classrooms. They talked about the watershed and all of the things that they've been learning. They went out on a field trip and they released their trout in Clearwater Creek and had a pizza day. And whenever we get kids out into the outdoors and have an experiential learning like that, it's awesome. So I'm 100% on board with that as well. Other comments about what category we might?
I'm sure just so there's no misunderstanding, I was referring more to the getting 18 to 24-year-olds out into the workforce with groups that are doing this kind of work and training them as a job experience. And I agree. I think it's great. Experiential learning that you described is also great. But that's what I was referring to. Getting people working in these occupations, so we're developing that workforce moving forward.
Yes, well, we've funded those things too, so I agree, yes. Other ideas for categories or things that we might focus in on for strategies and write strategies around them, or try to fit some of these that are existing strategies that we've been given for our plan. Anyone else? So staff, I've offered a poll and I'm hopeful that that's something that is doable and maybe, I'm not sure, is our next meeting next week? I'm not sure there's enough time between now and next week to get that done because you're busy with other things, but.
Madam Chair, yes, our next meeting is Wednesday of next week, but we can try and get a poll out tomorrow to everyone. What would be helpful is if the members could respond by the end of the day, Monday next week, so that we would have one day to pull that together and maybe have something for you on Wednesday.
So members, would that be helpful if we had something a bit more concrete to look at for our next meeting? I'm seeing a nod here in this room. And I can count on you all to look at your email from Mr. Campana and respond. And I would also say, get on the email tonight and send any other ideas that come to you or over the weekend that you might want to or this evening, I guess, if you're going to make a poll. But you could have an other in there and have an open-ended question of if they want to add one. Okay. Other comments or questions about this process?
Madam Chair, did you say our next meeting is next Wednesday? I had it on my schedule for Friday.
Mr. Campana.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioner Langseth, there actually is a meeting both scheduled for Wednesday of next week and Friday of next week.
But tomorrow, it's a meeting?
But not Friday tomorrow, Friday of next week.
The 28th. Yeah. Okay.
So the 26th and the 28th, I believe, are the two dates.
I will only be able to make the 28th, but I can see if Commissioner Pico can sit in my stead.
And you can finish the poll on your own.
And unfortunately, I'm in the same boat. Madam Chair, I won't be able to make the June 26th meeting, but we'll make the 28th meeting.
Okay. Well, be in communication then with any emails you get from the LCCMR staff, and I would appreciate that response in a timely manner. That would be very helpful. Is there any, I'm not sure it's helpful to look at the rest of this, but if members would like to, we can look at the next few goals just to see if there's anything that you want to comment about. If we look at resiliency, or Mr. Campana, do you have a comment?
Madam Chair, I was just going to say, in terms of moving the process forward, it would be helpful, while we haven't established those categories, maybe to look at the other goals and just see, based on each member's idea of what those categories might be, if they see something glaringly missing, that they're like, yeah, that's specific to that goal, because it helps us as staff to get better language in front of you as soon as possible.
Right, as long as we're here, I'd like to stick it out at least for a while yet. And just look at the resiliency goal. Did you have any more comments about that? Or can we just go ahead and look at resiliency, Minnesota's environment, I'm not sure we changed that one. We did not. So that's exactly as it stated on the PowerPoint. Our natural resources and communities are resilient in the face of climate change, land use changes, and extreme weather events. So looking through those strategies, I'll give you a moment to look at them. The first one is support cities, counties, and watershed districts. Second one is identify and promote workable, holistic, multi-benefit, diverse, and viable solutions for storing more water on the land. There again, this has a particular bias to water storage on the land. There's another one that came up, the goal before. Number 3, research effective water use scenarios. So that's a research one again. Number 4, research and demonstrate market-based policies that are economically viable to help pay for land use conservation. That's more of an incentive kind of questions. We didn't talk about that. Number 5, compile existing research, identify gaps, and develop research to quantify land use, etc. And number 6, use public open space to demonstrate climate change adaptation and prevention. So it hits on a few of those, but there may be some new ones here. And I have Commissioner Reese.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to comment that some of these we've already funded, and so there's models out there, and I don't think we have to support all the cities and counties and watershed districts to reinvent the wheel. So perhaps language on best management plans or best management practices, education on those systems is a
Right.
suggestion.
Yeah, I would agree. And this was done maybe before a lot of the One Watershed, One Plan or the water restoration protection strategies, the RAPs, or groundwater protection strategies. So there may have, I agree, there may have been some work done by agencies even in addition to the LCCMR funding. And so there may be a better way to talk about water use scenarios, for example, on number 3. Other comments on these strategies? Representative Hansen.
Just in general, the resiliency in fish and wildlife, the percentages are fairly similar. I mean, we're not getting a broad spread on those in terms of the responses. We get to lands, we've got 15 subjects, so there's no head and shoulders on that. We have a lot of very similar across the board numbers in terms of, it's hard to rank that. And some of those are methods,
Right.
methods or tactics rather than strategies. Access and opportunities, that's got one that pops up. It's a method, right? Partnerships is a method rather than a means. And you've got similar distribution, kind of 4 that are high and 2 that are low. And then with energy, only 5 choices. It breaks out fairly similar in terms of those responses. So, there are some patterns that emerge in this, and I think having categorization to sort out maybe strategies and separate them from tactics would be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Other comments on, we've done resiliency, Representative Hansen kind of flipped through them all quickly, but I'm going to go through the fish and wildlife there again. There's 7. Again, research, provide technical assistance, conserve additional lands, monitor environmental health systems, evaluate effectiveness of management practices, Again, another research one and another research one, number 7. Any other comments on goal 3 from members?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Yes.
This is goal 3.
Commissioner Reese.
I think you're still on goal 2. Sorry about that. I'm behind. In relation to goal 2, though, there are existing networks, and I think in support of this, I think developing and supporting the networks is critical too. I think that's a really good engagement model, and probably does more to move the ball forward than anything I've seen.
Okay, thank you. Did you get that? I had a hard time hearing what he was saying, but maybe you got it. Okay, he says yes. Let's move on to lands, goal 4. There are 15 there. People were very interested in that apparently back in 2019, and we still are. Minnesota's public land and private lands, including forest, grasslands, wetlands, and agricultural lands, provide long-term benefits to fish and wildlife and people. So we've got promote research, evaluate best management practices. Number 2, research, develop, and demonstrate. And it's talking specifically about egg production processes. Number 3, enhance education and public outreach. Number 4, develop innovative market-based policies. Number 5, improve and demonstrate how working lands are productive. Preserve and protect watersheds. Research. Number 7, research and demonstrate practical value. There again, focused on agriculture. 8, develop and implement egg cropping systems and more agriculture. Number 9, educate people through demonstrations and opportunity for public-private lands. There again for slow and store water. Encourage landscape level and ecotype planning. 11, implement conservation actions that prioritize the needs of vulnerable, declining, poorly understood, and sensitive species. Number 12, prioritize projects that enlist the support of multiple agencies. There again, that's cross collaboration. 13, increase understanding, assessment of trade-offs among different goals. Identify, number 14, identify high-quality habitat, recreational open spaces. 15, evaluate, prioritize, and demonstrate how working lands. So there's a lot of good stuff in that one, but I think a bunch of redundancy that could be probably categorized under certain headings. Any comments, any more comments on lands from commission members? Commissioner Reese. You have a comment, Commissioner Reese?
Hitting the wrong button. I meant to hit mute and I not lower my hand. But in any case, Madam Chair, I'm just going to comment that quickly that I think you can take number 15 and combine it or take that off, and it goes well with number 2 as anyway. So I think you could do that. I think we should perhaps also consider some of the other industries in the state that have an impact on land. One might be the mining industry, and kind of addressing that. I don't think, again, we don't want to vilify the industry, but we also want to have them part of this process moving forward to be better stewards of the land. Just like myself as a farmer, I want to be a better steward of the land, and most farmers do. Just need to know how to do that and have the market allow us to do that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks. So you've said a word that maybe we could have it in as one of our categories, and that is stewardship. Might be a word that we would use in the strategic plan in some place. So just want to have a marker for that. I'm going to move on to the 5th goal. All Minnesotans, especially young people, have access to and take advantage of opportunities, including culturally relevant and innovative connections to the lands and waters of Minnesota. So here we have 6 different strategies through partnerships with schools. So there again, it's partnerships and experiential learning. Through collaborative efforts. Number 2, provide curriculum programs, outdoor environmental events. Number 3, address social, economic, and physical barriers to outdoor rec. Number 4, implement capital projects that develop culturally relevant, accessible, resilient recreational facilities, etc. Number 5, research people's interest in outdoor rec and understand barriers. And number 6, assess programs, activities, physical spaces. So the bit of assessment and research in that bunch of strategies, but there again, a bit of redundancy that maybe could be combined under particular areas. Any comments on that one?
Yes, quick comment, Madam Chair, just suggestion for the staff that we have K through 12 identified, perhaps have post-secondary student or post-secondary students, experiential learning, internship opportunities to introduce them to careers in this space, something along those lines.
Thank you. So we could have, some strategies for K-12 and a strategy also for higher ed, post-secondary. Thank you. Let's move on to the goal 6, energy. Number 6 is Minnesota achieves reliance on renewable energy in all sectors, period. Including transportation, building, industry, agriculture, and others. Sorry. So there's only 5 there. I think people ran out of energy when they were doing the strategies. So they went from 15 to 5. Number 1, incentivize the use of non-polluting renewable energy in ag, industry, and commercial transportation. I'm not sure that's, maybe I'll ask others to comment on the word incentivize. I don't know exactly, is that something that we do at ENTRF? Do we incentivize?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would say,
Yes.
I would agree with you that word should be changed. I think research demonstrate and get research and probably demonstrate at scale the use of renewable energy in agricultural industries and commercial transportation.
Yeah, or implement projects that use renewable, and we're going to take out that non-polluting word, I think. So,
Madam Chair, if I might, I don't know that we want to use implement, because one of the challenges, this is a huge need across the state. We're not saying that we're going to build solar panels at every school. There's other programs for that. What we're saying is, or we're going to build solar panels on farms. We're saying is going to show that these are viable systems within their culture, mining industry, or whatever moving forward. And
yeah,
so I think we want to be careful. That's why I agree that incentivize. We're not going to provide a production tax credit because you're using renewable energy for mining, for example.
right. So we might be more likely to say, invest in projects that something.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Number 2, demonstrate the ability of statewide potential to generate. So that's more of a, investigate and demonstrate. Number 3, fund energy efficiency improvements for rental property, small business, and schools. I'm not sure that's what the trust fund does, but we definitely want to, I don't know that we invest in rental properties and small businesses, but certainly public facilities and schools would be something that we would invest in. Number 4, demonstrate community scale net zero renewable energy systems. I don't know what that means, but it would have to be more clear to me. And then more plain language, I guess I would say. And then number 5, encourage bundling renewable energy production and battery storage. That also seems like it could be a little bit more plain language, but others might better understand that. Any comments on goal 6? Any additional comments? Commissioner Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just say that I think 4 and 5 could probably be addressed together, and probably even 3, just say, community scale energy systems that include net zero renewable energy systems, battery storage, microgrids, or similar. I think that's the intent. One area that we really didn't specify, that there's 2 areas in the state that we really didn't specify, and that's the mining industry and steel, iron and steel production, which is a huge energy consumer. And I think there's interest in moving in that direction across the state. And then also aviation and other fuels. I think that's an area that LCCMR could support as well. So sustainable aviation fuel and other e-fuels.
Thank you. Other comments on that goal of energy before we move on? Representative Hansen.
Yeah, I think it'd be really great on the e-fuels and the sustainable aviation fuels to look at the holistic impact on water and biodiversity and soils. So looking at the environmental impact of economic incentives on that. Same on any of the other things that we use economic development, we look at the environmental cost. And I think that would be a constitutionally justified expenditure of dollars on the environment side rather than economic development.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to emerging issues. Commissioner Reese, did you have another comment?
Yeah, just very similar to Representative Hansen, life cycle assessment of the systems, understanding the energy going in and coming out, and other carbon and things like that. So,
okay, thank you. Moving on to our last goal, which is emerging issues, and we have an understanding of what emerging issues funding looks like, and I think it was included in our packet, but I'm not able to lay my hands on it this very second. But the goal is that Minnesota responds quickly and proactively to emerging environmental and natural resource issues. And I think some of those categories that we've already discussed could be enlisted here, and we could certainly develop some strategies based on the categories that we've been talking about. And also referring to the RFP and the emerging issues outline that we have. So I've just been handed it by Mr. Campana. So the emerging issues criteria, addressing environmental or disease issues where delay will threaten the viability of segments of the state's natural resources or human health, implementing a natural resource corrective action where delay will be detrimental to the state's natural resources, an opportunity to enhance natural resource management in a timely manner, and an opportunity to acquire critical land in a timely manner. So these are, it's probably not so much about education and outreach as it is about responding to a critical need in some way. So I think we can, perhaps staff can help us draft some strategies around those particular criteria within that particular goal. Any other comments on emerging issues before we move on here?
yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Reese.
So there are emerging issues, and then there are emergency issues. And I guess that's what I would like the staff to consider, that the urgency of, and perhaps address that in the goal that, or excuse me, in the strategy, that whether it's ranking or whatever it is, that there's a process in place, identified process, because I think NO staff is already up to their eyeballs in work, but some of these things just come up and they need to move forward quickly. So what is the process to move that? If it's, whether it's H5N1 avian flu or COVID or whatever it is can we develop within the strategy an operating procedure that addresses, these are the dates that if you get it in by this date, it will be addressed by this date, and we will get the funding by this date, so that we know that the process is in there is to truly address these issues.
Okay, thanks for that feedback. Yeah, I think staff is willing to take some suggestions and write a handful of strategies for us there. And if you have, that's a good suggestion, Commissioner Reese, and if you have others, please forward them on, but might not have them for our next meeting, but it's something that I think staff is willing to work on. And I appreciate that from them. Anything else on these strategies before we move on? I appreciate the work and the comments and the help. It will, I think, make our next meeting a little bit more doable. and we'll be able to move forward a bit more. Is there anything more on this strategic planning discussion that you wanted to do, Mr. Campana?
Madam Chair, may I ask a question of you in the subcommittee, just so there's clarification for staff?
Sure.
So we will send out this poll to the members regarding categories. Once we have the results of that poll, is the subcommittee envisioning that once you have those categories, that there would be one or two strategies for each goal, for each category, assuming the category is actually relevant to that goal? So the staff maybe should, once we have an idea of what the categories are, the subcommittee is interested, maybe try and merge some of the existing strategies or generalize them so they one or two fit under them. Is that the intent of the subcommittee?
I'll ask that of the subcommittee. Would you like assistance from staff to once we have those categories, take the existing strategies and merge them or pare them down based on duplication so that there are two or three under each different category in each goal? Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the staff have been hearing our conversations about this in the meetings. They know kind of intent. They would have the time and the ability to put this together, and I'd encourage them to do so.
Thank you. Other comments? I know we're somewhat reluctant to add more work on staff, but this is a strategic planning process that will take, almost the whole year. So we have some time, and it's not like we're under a gun here to get it done in a certain date. So I think it's worthwhile to do a good job and to be thoughtful about the discussion. And if staff can help us with that, I would appreciate that as well. Mr. Commissioner Reese?
Yeah, to address Mike's question, the answer is yes, but then when we see them, we'll split them apart back to where they were, Mike, as you might expect. But I would like them put together as much as possible, because to have that many strategies underneath each goal is prohibitive for a lot of different reasons. So.
Right. Alrighty. So with that, is there, somebody else had their hand up? Oh, Representative Heinzman, did you have a comment?
Madam Chair, if you were going to ask for a motion to adjourn, then I will wait.
I was almost there, but I do have to ask if there's any public testimony. Is there any public testimony? In other words, and then in that case, I would take your motion.
I would make the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We are adjourned.